Hey everybody, this is the Mage of Ancients, and I'm back with my February 2018 Banlist update for my Ancient Gear deck profile. Of course, this update is being released 1 week before the new Legendary Duelists set comes out, and that set is going to include some new Ancient Gear support. I just wanted to give you guys this quick update so that you guys have some ideas as to what you can play in your own decks. Feel free to incorporate any of the ideas in my Ancient Gear deck profile today into your own deck. And of course, as always, if you have any suggestions on what I should do to improve this deck, then be sure to leave those suggestions down in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and I take them into consideration when updating this deck. With that being said, let's get started with this deck profile update. To start off, just like before, I run double copies of Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. This is pretty much your main deck's boss monster. It gains effects depending on whether you tribute summon this card using an Ancient Gear monster, a Gadget monster, or both. Also, it prevents your opponent from activating any spells or traps during the time in which it attacks. And after it attacks, it destroys a spell or trap on the field. If you happen to have Gear Town on the field after this attacks, you can trigger Gear Town's effect to special summon any other Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, depending that it can be special summoned that way. And just like Reactor Dragon, Ancient Gear Golem prevents your opponent from activating spells or traps when it attacks. Also, it does piercing battle damage. I think you guys know this card all too well. Next, I run the triple copies of Ancient Gear Wyvern. This pretty much searches out all of your other Ancient Gear cards after you normal or special summon it. This is definitely a card that you want to start your combos off with. If you have Gear Town and Ancient Gear Catapult on the field, then you can pop those two so that you can special summon your Wyvern and just do all your searching from there. Next, I run triple copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. This basically has a built-in polymerization, so you can easily go into Howitzer and Chaos Ancient Gear Giant from there. Speaking of polymerization, I do run that card in this deck profile update, but I think this is the card that you'll definitely want to see first. Next, I run double copies of Ancient Gear Box. This is the card that you'll want to search off of cards like Gear Gigant X or Ancient Gear Wyvern. And for the last of my Ancient Gear monsters, I run triple Ancient Gear Gadget. What's cool about Ancient Gear Gadget is that if you summon all 3 copies out onto your field within the same main phase before you attack, then you can basically shut down all effects during the battle phase. So if you have 1 gadget, then you can shut down your opponent's monster effects. If you have 2 monsters and spells, and 3, then you can shut down your opponent's monster, spell, and trap effects whenever one of your Ancient Gear monsters attack. And it's actually pretty easy to get out. You just need machine duplication and you're good to go. So those are my Ancient Gear monsters. Now I'm going to show you guys my supporting monsters. For my supporting monsters, I run double copies of Gold Gadget and double copies of Silver Gadget. This makes for easy rank 4s and as well as link plays, and you can just special summon level 4 machine monsters from your hand, especially Ancient Gear Wyvern, because you gotta do that searching. And for this update, I decided to include a couple of engines to make the deck a bit more consistent. I run the Predaplant engine, 3 copies of Over Scorpio and 1 copy of Darlingtonia Cobra. In case you guys don't know, you special summon or normal summon your Scorpio, ditch a monster, and then special summon Darlingtonia Cobra from your deck so that you can add a polymerization or a fusion spell card from your deck. And since you have 2 level 3 monsters on your field, then you can XZ summon your MX Saber Invoker, which lets you special summon a level 4 Earth, Beast Warrior, or Warrior type monster from your deck. And that's why I decided to include Cyber Gymnast in this deck. I was thinking about including Chiron the Mage, but I think Cyber Gymnast just has a much better discard cost, because Chiron the Mage requires you to discard a spell card. While you can discard Ancient Gear Catapult to trigger its effect from the graveyard, I think Cyber Gymnast is a much better, has a better discard cost, because it says by discarding 1 card from your hand, and it's not just a spell card. It could be any card, a monster, a spell, or a trap. And the second engine that I run is the Symphonic War Ii Engine. I run triple copies of Symphonic War Ii Guitar and 1 copy of Symphonic War Ii Mics. Guitar is a level 3 monster, which means it's searchable off of Gear Gigant X. And I included only 1 copy of Symphonic War Ii Mics, just so that I don't see it in my opening hand. If you want, you could include 2 copies instead of 1, just so you can have a scale 1 and a scale 7 so that you can pendulum summon if you need to. So those are my main deck monsters. Now let's go over to my spells. For my spells, I run triple copies of Gear Town. It's mainly here for its destruction effect, where you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from pretty much anywhere. I also run 2 Terraforming to search it out. Make use of this card while you can, because you never know when this card might get limited or anything. And I also run one copy of Ancient Gear Fortress. This is searchable off of Ancient Gear Wyvern. It's basically extra protection for your Ancient Gear monsters. I only run one copy because, unlike Gear Town, it doesn't let you special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck. But it is a good target when you're using Ancient Gear Catapult. So what this does, in case you guys don't know, is that if you control no monsters, you can target any face-up card on the field, like Gear Town or Ancient Gear Catapult, and then destroy it, and then you can special summon any Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So that you can easily churn out monsters like Ancient Gear Gattletron Chimera, or Ancient Gear Golem, or Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. Also, if this card is in your graveyard and you haven't used its first effect already, then you can use its graveyard effect to banish it and destroy any card that you control, and then you can special summon an Ancient Gear token from there. Ancient Gear tokens also count as Ancient Gear monsters, so you can use it as fusion material if you need to. I also run one copy of Machine Duplication. I've seen other people run triple copies or multiple copies of Machine Dupe, but you are only going to be summoning 3 Ancient Gear gadgets onto your field only once, so I don't think you need more than just one copy of Machine Dupe. I also run one Limiter Removal for potential OTKs, one Overload Fusion, and finally one Polymerization. Like I said, Overload Fusion is a fusion named spell card, so you can search it off of the Predaplant engine, and you can also search Polymerization off of the Predaplant engine too. Polymerization also happens to be searchable off Ultimate Pound, and we'll get to that very soon. So those are my spells, and that is my main deck. I don't run any traps, but I do run traps in my side deck. So we're going to get to that right now. For my side deck, I run one copy of Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound and one Ancient Gear Explosive. What this does is that when this is destroyed, if this card on the field is destroyed, then you can add a Polymerization from your deck to your hand, and you can search for an Ancient Gear monster other than Ultimate Pound from your graveyard. Ancient Gear Explosive is here just so I can trigger Ultimate Pound's destruction ability, and it inflicts damage to my opponent equal to half of its original attack. Let's see. After that, I run one copy of Ancient Gear Workshop. I just might cut this out just because it only adds a monster back from my graveyard. I also run Power Bond in my side deck, just because Power Bond is not searchable off of the Predaplant engine or Ultimate Pound. But the cool thing about Power Bond is that it doubles the attack of your machine-type fusion monsters, especially Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. So you have 4,500 attack for your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, and you can double it to 9,000. So you can include this in your main deck if you want to, just because it's that good. I also run Pot of Desires in my side deck, but I just might put this in my main deck just because my main deck doesn't have that much draw power. Actually, it doesn't have any draw power, so I just might put this in my main deck. And it does thin out your deck, so it's good for that. And I cannot believe I'm saying this, but one copy of Monster Reborn, fresh off of the Forbidden section of the ban list. So it's actually pretty simple. You can special summon any monster from any graveyard. One Book of Moon, just because it's that good. Double Twin Twisters. And for my traps, I run one Floodgate Trap Hole, double Quaking Mirror Force, and finally, double Dimensional Barrier. One of the comments that I got on my last Ancient Gear deck profile update was to just cut out one copy of Quaking Mirror Force and replace it with something else. I don't remember. But that card could be anything. Maybe, for example, it could be a second copy of Power Bond, just so you'll be able to see it more often. So that's my side deck. Now let's go over to my extra deck. Now for my extra deck, I run 2 copies of the big guy himself, Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. This card does piercing damage, and it can attack each and every one of your opponent's monsters once each. And it's also unaffected by spells, and it prevents your opponent's monster from activating their effects during the battle phase. And it is a Dark Machine type monster, so that you can fusion summon it off of Overload Fusion if you need to. I also run double copies of Ancient Gear Howitzer. This card is really good. It's unaffected by any card effects, and if this card is destroyed by battle, then you can special summon any Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. And it only takes 2 Ancient Gear monsters to make, so that's pretty good. I also run one Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. This card might become more prevalent when we get the new Ancient Gear support, just because Megaton Ancient Gear Golem is coming out, and Megaton Ancient Gear Golem lets us special summon this card when Megaton is destroyed. At least that's what I remember. I also run double copies of Gear Gigant X, so you can search out my level 4 or lower machine type monsters. And I also run one copy of Heavy Armored Train Iron Wolf. So any machine type monster that I control, I can use Iron Wolf's effect to target it, and then it can attack my opponent directly in that turn. After that, I run one copy of Crooked Cook. If you have Gear Town and you don't have Ancient Gear Catapult, but you have 2 level 4 monsters, then you can use this effect to destroy that Gear Town, and then you can trigger its destruction effect from there. I also run 1 Castel. This could be any level 4. This can be any rank 4 monster that you need to. Maybe a Abyss Dweller or a Baguska. Anything that you want. After that, I run 1 rank 3 MX Saber Invoker. Like I said before, it works off of the Predaplant engine. Since you have Scorpio and Cobra on the field, then you can Exceed Summon your Invoker and then get out your Earth Warrior or Beast Warrior. And the other rank 3 that I run is the Phantom Knights of Break Sword. It's just like Crooked Cook, basically. You can detach it and then you can destroy your Gear Town or your Ancient Gear Fortress or any other card that you control. And you can also destroy any card on your opponent's field. And finally, my Link monsters. The only Link monsters I run in this deck are Double Mrs. Radiant and 1 Underclock Taker. Underclock Taker is a really good generic Link 2 monster that you can just splash in any deck. It's probably better than Proxy Dragon since I'm not really relying on my extra deck as much. I'm just trying to turbo out my Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Of course, the Link monsters are completely up to you. You can include Decode Talker if you want to. And you can also include Cleave Genius if you want. If you have a Scale 1 mics in your other one Pendulum Zone and you have Guitar Scale 7 in your other Pendulum Zone that you can Pendulum Summon, and you can trigger Cleave Genius's effect to add any level 5 or higher machine type monster like Ancient Gear Golem to your hand. So that's pretty cool. Now before I go, guys, I want to clarify something involving these 2 cards. Using Gear Town and Ancient Gear Catapult in tandem with each other just happens to be a popular combo that Ancient Gear players just want to use. But there are some people out there who say that these 2 cards, when used together, they just miss the timing. So I'm going to try and clarify this once and for all. So here's how the combo is going to work. First, you activate Gear Town as your field spell, and then activate Ancient Gear Catapult, pop it, and now what you're going to do is that you're going to special summon Ancient Gear Hunting Hound from your deck. And that's off of Catapult, by the way. And Gear Town is going to resolve as the last link in the chain, and I'm going to special summon Ancient Gear Wyvern. So that goes away. Now Ancient Gear Wyvern is actually going to resolve as its own chain, so that way you can add your box from your deck to your hand along with your gadget. So now you have 4 monsters, 2 on your field, and 2 monsters in your hand. So that's 4 Ancient Gear monsters. So what you're going to do is you're going to send those away to fusion summon your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. If you ask me, this is a good combo going second, so that way you don't have to worry about your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant getting kaiju'd or anything. So it's that easy. Also, you have an extra normal summon to use, so maybe you want to include the Predaplant engine at this point and then just go into your Overload fusion, so that way you can go to Decode Talker or Underclock Taker, and then you could just open up some more zones for more extra deck monsters. So that's it for this deck profile update, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Next time I update this deck, it's going to include the brand new Ancient Gear support from Legendary Duelists Ancient Millennium. So if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to help support the channel, then be sure to hit that like button, comment below with what other Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profiles and videos you guys would like to see, and of course be sure to subscribe for more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos like this. And also be sure to hit that bell icon so you'll be the first to know on when I upload these new Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'll see you next time.